ازيكم؟ Hello everyone. النهارده هناخد سيشن تانية. احنا ابتدينا السيشن اللي فاتت كانت عن التوعية عن السكس education، الجنس، وازاي نتكلم عن الجنس مع الاولاد الصغيرين. حد فاكر المسج بتاعت المرة اللي فاتت ايه؟ مسج مهمة قوي، انه احنا لازم نبقى اول ناس نتكلم مع اولادنا عن الموضوع دوت. مظبوط؟ ان اول كلام يتكتب في الموضوع ده مع اولادنا لازم احنا اللي نبقى بنكتبه. لان اول ما يدخل فكر غريب او اول ما يدخل تعليم غريب في دماغهم بيبقى صعب قوي ان احنا to erase it، مش كده؟ حد شاف مدمن مخدرات قبل كده؟ Okay. So Joan, I'm just doing a quick introduction and asking a few questions. المشكلة بتاعت المدمنين المخدرات ايه؟ كتير ناس بيحبوا ان هم يبتدوا يلاقوا اسباب معينة للانسان دوت ادمن مخدرات ليه. ففي ناس بيقولوا ان هي ايه؟ انها environment، مش كده؟ ان هو اتحط في بيئة معينة فلقى كل اللي حواليه بيستعملوا الادوية دهيت، فده بيبقى سبب من الاسباب. في ناس تانيين بيقولوا genetics، مش كده هنا؟ Some people people do say that, and there are some evidence ان هو ممكن في فعلا ناس بيبقى عندهم more tendency ان هم يدمنوا المخدرات once ايه ان هم they get introduced to it. فعشان كده البريفنشن، الوقايه في الحالات دهيت بتبقى ايه؟ خير من العلاج. مظبوط؟ فعشان كده الموضوع ده مهم قوي. النهارده هنتكلم في الموضوع ده، والموضوع ده صعب قوي ومش سهل اي حد يتكلم عليه، بس في early signs، في حاجات معينه نبص عليها، وفي الانفايرمنت اللي حوالينا في ريسورسز، في تولز، في حاجات تقدر تلاحظها عشان تبتدي انك انت تقول the red flags I need to pay more attention. But today our guest is Joan, and I will not pretend to pronounce your last name. I'll not attempt it. Scornaienchi. And Joan is a CEO of Drug Free Howard County organization. This is a non-for-profit organization with interest in drug prevention. And I'll read for you some of the details of that organization. But it provides prevention, treatment, recovery, and health and wellness resources to help Howard County residents develop knowledge and skills to understand and address behavioral health disorders. It's our pleasure to hear you, and thank you so much for coming. Oh, one thing I want to say. Translation, we'll be providing translation. لو حد عايز الهيدسيتس please use it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. Can you hear me okay in the back? We're good with this? And I have the other mic too, so I could use that if I need to. It really is my pleasure to be here with you today. We are in the process of trying to reach out to local churches in Howard County. And so I was really thrilled when you reached out to me before we could even get to you, because it was something we just started maybe 3 days before I was contacted by you. So we'd only made it to contact, I think, one other church. So I'm just thrilled. I think it really was divine intervention. HC Drug Free is proud to have formal partnership agreements with the Howard County Police, the Howard County Public School System, the PTA Council, the Howard County Libraries, and the Korean Society of Maryland just recently. So right now, we translate our materials in English, Spanish, and Korean with their help. And I've been talking about trying to translate some of this, if need be, and I hope that we can do that, into Arabic. We've delivered educational materials to the pharmacies. I know we have a pharmacist here, but she's not in Howard County. But to all the pharmacies in Howard County, so you should start to see a lot of these materials, and maybe you can recognize them. And as well as we've delivered them to 2,200 medical waiting areas, so that as you're sitting at your doctor's or dentist's office, that you should be seeing all of these flyers. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I don't have a pocket, but we'll try to hook that so I don't lose it. If it shoots off, we'll know. So you should see these materials, you know, and again, as you're sitting there, to remind you that when you're going in to talk to your doctor and your dentist, that you are to have discussions with them about the medications that they are prescribing to you. And before I get started on today's topic, which is going to be prescription medication and prescription pain medication and opioids, I want to leave you with several things to think about. So one of them for sure is, how many of you have a young person in your life? So whether you're a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, you know, a responsible neighbor who likes to go out and play with the neighbor kids. So somebody, say, from a child about this high to age 24. How many of you have somebody in your life, or you are that somebody? Okay, that's just about everybody. Is there anybody who doesn't have a young person in their life, so from little to 24? All right, and I always ask, especially parents and grandparents, do you have a secret code with those young people? Meaning, if they're in trouble and they text you or they call you, and or even if you're there in person and they use that secret code, that you know that they need help, that you know you should drop everything and go get them. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? Because in this day and age, it doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It could just be something else that's really going to get them in trouble or that just feels wrong. So if your kids call you, or this person that you love and care about calls you, and I'm including through college years, because a lot of college kids come home and go out with their friends and then realize again, there's somewhere they don't want to be and there's somewhere that can get them in trouble. So even your college kids coming home, if they call you, like let's just say you have a dog, but they never feed the dog. That is not their job. You couldn't make them feed that dog for anything. And if they call you or they text you and say, hey mom, hey dad, I forgot to feed the dog, you need to immediately assume that there are other people there looking at their text or can hear that phone, pretend that phone's on speaker, and the first thing out of your mouth needs to be, where are you? I'm coming to get you. And you need to practice this with your kids from the time they are little until, like I said, they're well into their college years. Because sometimes it can be an experience that, you know, you don't want them to end up sexually assaulted because they're at the wrong place, wrong time. You don't want them to end up in trouble with the law, wrong place, wrong time. Or it can be somebody using drugs or alcohol and they just want out of there. So I think it's just a great thing to always have, because in this day and age, you never know where young people are going to be and what help they need. And so anyone you trust with your kids, have them practice that code. And don't, even if you have a code for you and your friends or your child and their friends, so that as parents you know that some parent's going to get them, have a secret code for your own child. Because often what I hear is it's the friends that are the very ones that are going to get them in trouble. So you want that young person to call you and say, you know, hey, forgot to feed the dog. Okay, I'm coming to get you. Then you get them, and then you find out what was going on. Okay? So if you do nothing else, at least talk about that, and talk about that with other people with young children, because I think it's a great way to keep kids safe. So today's topic is going to be prescription pain medication and opioids, other than the pharmacist and the doctor in the room. Do you know what opioids are? They're the prescription pain medications that many of us have in our homes, like morphine, oxycodone, OxyContin, Percocet, hydrocodone, Vicodin. I'm sure there's a whole list of others. And it also includes illegal drugs like heroin. Okay, so today we're going to talk, for simplicity's sake, about legal prescription pain medication and then illegal heroin, because there is such a connection between the two. And one of the best kept secrets in Howard County, and I say this doing the job that I do, is that we have people dying right here in Howard County from drug overdoses. Far more than you could probably expect, probably far more than you've ever heard about or considered. and a lot of those people are dying from heroin. So I just want to give you a few statistics. So a recent poll done by the Washington Post and the University of Maryland found that 3 out of 10 of us, 3 out of 10 Marylanders, have a close friend or a family member who is addicted to opioids. So they're addicted. They're not just using, they're not just misusing, they're already addicted. And you may have already seen this in the media, that Governor Hogan had a cousin die from a heroin overdose. So because of that, he created this heroin task force, which has really done a good job of going around the state and looking at every region of the state and asking for feedback and truly getting a very real view of the heroin use and heroin epidemic in this state. And what that report's made clear is that these heroin-related deaths are really caused by the excessive amount of prescription pain medications in the homes and in the community. So, you know, you think about that, well, how does that happen? Well, if you go to your doctor and you get a prescription and you get hooked, you can only go back to your doctor so many times before your doctor says, I'm not going to write the prescription anymore, and you can't get it. So it is cheaper, it is easier to get heroin in this county than it is to continue on your pain medication. And that's the unfortunate truth. Pain medication, at least, is monitored. You know what you're getting. With heroin, I always say to people, why would you trust your local drug dealer? You don't know what that's mixed with. You don't know if it's going to kill you the first time or what's really in there. I've talked to drug dealers who, you know, they've put everything and anything in with their mixture just so they could get more out of it to make more money. So, and as you will see from HC Drug Free's campaign, we want you to see the face of prescription medication misuse, and misuse is really the new term, because that means if I'm taking 3 of my pills rather than 2, or taking them, you know, for several weeks rather than just 2 days, so I'm misusing. Or it means if I, as a good wife, have pain medication at home and my husband goes out in the yard and hurts his back and he comes in and I give him my pain medication, that too is misuse. So we as women and caretakers, often we are the ones handing out the medication to our family members that's really not even theirs. So, but our campaigns, as we change them in different languages, we change the photos as well, but we want you to see that it's young and old and well-educated and maybe less educated. It is doctors and dentists, you know, our neighbors. It's us. It's all of us. So this is the changing face. When I'm talking about this today, we're going to talk a lot about youth, but the truth is, and you need to hear this, I have never misused illegal drugs. I always say the only illegal drug I took was alcohol before 21, okay? But if I am standing here before you today and saying, in all honesty, I'm not addicted yet, but I certainly cannot say to you that I will never be addicted, nor should you think that, because we are all one car accident, one surgery, one something away from the possibility of chronic pain. And we don't know how we would react. We don't know how these medications would react within us. And what we pretty much can guarantee is that if any of us in this room stayed on some of these meds, we would be addicted. And so, you know, is that an addiction that then we would quickly be able to get help and not ruin our lives? Is that an addiction that then would, you know, someone like me, who couldn't imagine going downtown Baltimore and buying heroin from someone on the street? I don't know what that would be like. I can't imagine doing that. But would I do that if I couldn't get my pain medication anymore? Because I don't have to go downtown Baltimore. I can go to any of our neighborhoods here in Howard County. So when we do focus groups and we talk especially to young people, and young people meaning that under 24, so let's say that they're already in recovery or are struggling with their recovery, the one thing that they make clear is they can get anything they want, anytime they want, anywhere they want, without leaving Howard County. And that's Howard County, Anne Arundel County, PG County, Montgomery County. Pick the county. You don't have to go to the city. This is not that drug, that epidemic anymore. This is us. This is stuff we all have in our homes. So again, to us, this heroin epidemic is caused by excessive access to legal pain medication. Because for the most part, even if I have surgery, I probably don't need to come home with 30, 60, 90 pills, right? Or more, right? Or in refills. Okay? So what I have to tell you is that also, if this impacts your child or you or a family member or someone you just care about, you can't love them enough, you can't spend enough money to keep them from possibly dying from this. Okay? So we are talking life or death. So for our children, that's what we're talking. For ourselves, for people my parents' age who have never had an addiction, we are talking life or death here. But the good news is we will get to talk about some things that you really can do. So I want you to realize that the pain medication that the kids especially and others are getting are coming from our homes. If I go into your home right now, could I walk into your kitchen, open your cabinet, walk into your bathroom, open the cabinet, go into your bedroom, either look right on your dresser top or your top dresser drawer and find your meds? Right? Did I just find most of the pain meds in your homes? Right. How many of you lock them up? I mean, literally have a lock on them. Okay, good. Today, if you get nothing else out of this, again, hear this. I want you to start treating those pain medications like you would a loaded gun. If I walked into your home right now, would I find a loaded gun on your kitchen cabinet? Would your 5-year-old or 5-year-old grandchild be able to walk in and pick up that loaded gun? No. No, because you wouldn't want them to get hurt. You wouldn't want to ruin their lives. You wouldn't want to see them dead. So why are you leaving your prescription pain medication where someone like me can walk in? Someone who says they're your friend can walk right in and take them. Someone working in your home can take them. What about if you're trying to sell a home? You know, you want people to tour through your home. People are touring through homes in this county and across this United States, opening cabinets and taking the medications that you have, because most of us don't even know what we have. And if they don't take the whole bottle, how would we ever know if they took pills out of there? And many of us, they wouldn't even know if the bottles were gone. We would never miss them because we don't really plan to go back and get them. But I get why you don't throw them out, because let's talk about that. Something happens and you have to go to the doctor. You've got to take the day off work. You've got to deal with calling and getting that appointment, which with many doctors' offices, that's a challenge right from the start. You got to go there. You're going to do your copay. You're going to get the prescription. You're going to go pick it up. Again, you probably have a copay. And so what's the first thing you're thinking? I might need these someday, or I'm going to get the whole prescription filled, because either you've never thought about the fact that you can fill a partial prescription, and instead of 30, you could come home with 3, because maybe you won't need any, but that would at least get you through a few days. Or, you know, what are those thoughts, right? I mean, stop and think about that for a minute. Why you bring it into the house? First of all, why are you bringing it into the house? Do you really need it? And then, why are you keeping it? So we have permanent collection boxes here in Howard County. You can take your meds there. HC Drug Free does what's called a drug take-back day. The DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, has a semi-annual national day of collection, and I'm sure you've seen those commercials on TV. You may not realize it now, but as we get closer to April 30, you'll start seeing them, and hopefully they'll mean something more to you now. But you can come to HC Drug Free's location. We're over close to the mall in Columbia. How many of you go to the mall in Columbia? Okay, or at least know where it is. All right, we're right next to the mall. And you can drive through our plaza, pop your trunk if you have that many that you have to put them in the trunk, or hand your bag out the window. We'll have a police officer with us, then he won't even take the meds. He's just sitting there guarding the container. We as adults will take them from you. You can just keep on driving, tie the bag shut. Nobody's going to open it. Nobody cares what you have. Get that stuff out of your home. So we try to make it as easy as possible. Since I took this job 6 years ago, we've collected 3,000 pounds of medication out of Howard County homes. Now you think about what a pill weighs. 3,000 pounds, and I can promise you we have not made a dent. So that's unwanted, unneeded medications that should not be in homes. So do you have children who are going to other people's homes? Do you have family members who are going to other people's homes? Do you have people coming into your home? What you have, lock it up. What you don't need, get rid of it. And talk to your doctors ahead of time. I feel sorry for doctors. We've done interviews of local doctors. And I will say that there are times when the doctors have said to me, I didn't even want to prescribe pain medication. But we go in there, we are crying because we have pain or we're upset about something. We think we shouldn't have any pain, so no discomfort. We want to feel numb at best. And so we're saying to the doctor, you have to do something. You have to give me something. So some of the doctors are saying to me, we've prescribed, a day's worth or maybe 3 days worth of pain medication rather than 30 as a compromise so that you will leave feeling like your doctor did something. Because you'll be mad at your doctor if they truly try to say to you, your pain's not that bad. And you need to learn to ask for other alternatives. Would 2 Advil or 2 ibuprofen, would that do the job rather than coming out of there with a bottle of 30 pain pills that's now in your home? And remember, you're thinking, okay, it's in my home for that 15-year-old to get or that 22-year-old to get. But I'm saying maybe you don't need it, and this can be you. So again, what are your options? What other treatments can you do? Should you be trying therapy before you just decide you need 30 pills? Can you live on Advil and Tylenol, some combination? Like, what else would your doctor really like you to do rather than just handing you that prescription? We have people in Howard County who have spent $250,000 or more on treatment. And again, you can't love your family members enough or even yourself, and you can't pay enough to guarantee that people are going to be able to overcome this once they get hooked. The most recent mom that I talked to, absolutely, she and her husband, very good jobs, very well educated, more than $250,000, and he still killed himself. Okay? So I'm watching families throw every penny they have at treating this, and it's not working. Because this addiction, once it has you, it's a struggle. And then I get the calls from parents who are so excited because their child or their family member is out of rehab for the first time. And they think, this is great. They're home. Everything's wonderful. We're going to move on. We're going to act like it never happened. And, it's all just going to be an easy street now. And then I have to say to them, especially when you're talking about a young person, well, this is the most dangerous time. Because if they slip now, they've lost their tolerance. So if they go back and use what they used before they went into rehab, chances are they are going to die. So now I have to burst that bubble of that parent who thinks, we're done, we're good. People end up in and out of treatment again and again and again. You know, when I talk to the young people, it is, well, I don't think I've ever talked to a young person who has been in and out of treatment just once. Because, you know, they get tempted again, or things get tough, or somebody makes them the right offer. And it's really interesting because the brain of those of us who are not addicted is very different than the brain of someone who's addicted. And I have conversations with them, and I just think, I really can't relate. You know, really. I'm being as honest as I can be. Because we'll talk to them about, well, have you gone, and you and your buddies, if you're going to use, then why don't you all go to the free training and do the free naloxone or Narcan training, which will counter the effects of an overdose. So if you're going to sit here and use together, go to the training. You get the drug for free, and you can bring somebody back if they overdose. Absolutely won't do it. They don't trust that they wouldn't be in trouble with the law. And they say to you, I don't want to ruin my own high to help my friend or my sibling or my spouse or whoever's shooting up with them. I don't want to ruin my high to save their life. And think about that. You know, the people we love, we would do anything to save them, right? I mean, if they overdosed in front of us, we couldn't do enough to bring them back. And they're sitting there saying, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't ruin my high to deal with them, no matter how much I love them. And we say, well, okay, well, so what would you do? And the answer is, we would take that body and dump them out somewhere along the way so that somebody else finds them. So they have the ability to even save their friends. And if somebody dies from, especially a heroin overdose, don't think that that scares their friends. That means their friends are going to run to wherever they just got that heroin because they want to use that heroin. Because if you're an addict, you want to get as close to death as you can. So just because it killed somebody else, I'm thinking it's not going to kill me. I'm going to get as close to death as possible. So that's the good stuff. So again, all that can be prevented if we can prevent bringing these medications into our home and monitoring what our families take. And again, Howard County parents, I mean, think about this. You work hard to provide for your families, right? You care about your families. If you had a child who fell or needed dental surgery, you would get them to the best oral dentists or oral surgeons, and you would get them to the best doctors, and you would get them to the best treatment no matter what you had to do with them. But then you bring them home, and you don't follow up to figure out where those pills are. So again, you do all of that, and then you leave the loaded gun there. So I have young people who say to me again and again, this all started with when I was 14 with dental surgery. It started with a sports injury. It started with a broken bone. And they have parents just like you who care, who were there, who were in the house. These aren't neglected kids. These are our typical, wonderful, overachieving Howard County kids. So I've got kids going through that. And when I took this job, I thought the hardest thing was listening to parents after they've lost a child, especially moms, because dads tend to not come out, and moms do come out and want to talk and share about it, and it's just, I think, a difference in the grieving process. But so listening to moms and crying with moms. And then I realized that is not the worst part of my job. The worst part is having that young person who's maybe 22 or 24, been in and out of rehab, struggling with their addiction, really lost all their years of growing up, so much of their potential, in and out of trouble with the law. You know, it just stories after stories. And they stand there and they say, I'm working the 12 steps. What's that mean? That means I have to accept responsibility for my own action. That's hard when you started at 12 or 14, because you weren't an adult. You weren't making those decisions, and especially if your parents handed you those medications, because now they're struggling with forgiveness and acceptance and figuring all that out. So to me, when they stand there and they say, where were the adults? Not just their own parents, the teachers, the neighbors, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the scout leader, everyone, the church community, everyone knew that kid was doing something, that there was an issue, but no one stepped in to figure it out. It's easy for us to label them. It's easy for parents to call me and say, I can't wait till this kid turns 18 and they're out of the house. You can force treatment up until 18. Once they turn 18, that's it. And trust me, those parents who've lost those kids, they sure wish they had them back and could force them into treatment or could have those discussions or could do something. So this is very much a community issue. So what can you do? Talk to your doctor. Every time you go in and you think that you know more than your doctor and that you know what you need or what somebody else has taken or what you've seen on TV, have this discussion, but talk to them right from the start about what are the side effects, what's the plan, how long can I take this, what are other alternatives, and what happens if I take this too long and I get hooked? What are we going to do? So we want you to have that discussion right from the start. Bring your medications to our take-back day. So I said Saturday, April 30, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Drive-through. We can't make it any easier for you. We will be giving away, I think I'll have them in time, personal secured medication boxes. So they'll either have key access or a code on them. Similar to, I'm sure most of you have a box at home that you store your papers in, or a fire box of some type. It's that kind of concept, and the ones that we're buying have a red cross on the front so you would know their medications. Even if you have somebody coming in your home or you take medication every day and you want to leave it on your counter, it looks like something, let's say if an ambulance crew came in, that they would know to take with them. Even if you lock this and put it on your kitchen counter, you would know if it was gone. So maybe that's not the best approach, but if it's something you need to take every day and you do want to leave it out there, again, nobody would be able to get in and take some pills out, or and hopefully you'd only have in there what you're really taking at that point in your life. So that's a good option as far as we're concerned. Don't assume that any of us in this room are not addicted right now, or aren't misusing right now, because when we talk about the statistics and the odds, chances are somebody in this room is misusing medication today. And I think it's different when you're talking about somebody going through something like cancer treatment and being in severe pain. We certainly are not saying for people doing treatments like that or people in chronic pain not to take what they need. We do think you need to do that. You do, again, need to follow your doctor's advice. But after cancer treatments, and especially after someone dies, we're all so quick to say, let me know if I can do something. Be the person who goes to that home, collects the medications, and gets them properly disposed. We don't want you to flush them. We don't want you to wash them down the drain. We don't want them in the water system. We want them taken to a permanent collection box, or we want them brought to a take-back day. So if you need help, just go to HC Drug Free's website. I'll be happy to talk you through how to do that. How about do you have any questions for me or any other areas you want to cover? Mm-hmm.
This is the whole thing in terms of what we should do at home.
Right.
However, I'm just wondering, what is the government doing about other issues? For example, pharmaceutical companies, like if you recall, the whole epidemic started in the 90s in Oxycontin.
Yep.
And then we went down to the heroin use and the way they misadvertised their product. And then we went to heroin. And we have the drug dealers who are lacing fentanyl with Oxycontin and killing people who need
Mhm.
and the waiting list of people who are in need for rehab. I'm just wondering if
You need to do those one at a time. I will say, you know, I commented that we have people paying $250,000 for treatment. What I should have started with was saying that if I today decide I need treatment here in Howard County and I want to get clean and sober, even with my $250,000 in my pocket that most of us don't have, I can't find treatment. I can't get treatment today. I'm lucky if I can get treatment a couple of months from now. To get it today, I am absolutely paying out of pocket. So if you think, well, we have good insurance and, you know, my job covers these things, I can tell you that the treatment providers probably aren't going to take your insurance, and you probably are going to pay out of pocket. And again, if you want in at all quickly, that is definitely the way that you'll have to go. So that's one thing. The government is moving. There is a prescription drug monitoring program. There are other programs like that, which means that if I'm doctor shopping, and if my doctors are doing all that they can do, which again takes time and effort on their part, but if they are doing that, then they will see, and the pharmacist will see, that I have now gone to 3 different doctors to get the same medication, or different medications that all basically do the same thing, right? So making those things more mandatory and making them easier to use, because I feel for the physicians. Based on the interviews, they're all telling me how difficult this is, and the pharmacists too. They're so busy that to stop and go into the computer system and enter in and look at all of this, it is, again, one of those things that takes too much time. It's too burdensome. So we're improving systems and hopefully getting some people who tried it and decided it was too difficult to come back now, and so that they can, again, maybe I don't even know I have a problem. Like, there's me doctor shopping because I'm definitely trying to get the medications, but there's also me, patient, not knowing that maybe I shouldn't mix certain things, or that I have a problem because I've kind of fooled myself into thinking, well, I am a certain age without a drug problem. It doesn't look like, you know, a heroin problem. I'm taking legal prescription pain medications based on what my doctors are giving me. Why would I think I have a problem? So I often might need doctors and pharmacists to step in to help me to see that even faster. So I think the government, if you have paid attention to too much information on TV about the upcoming campaign, everybody at least is acknowledging that there is a heroin problem. They are acknowledging it's because of the amount of pain medication in homes and in the communities. So I think this dialogue is really a huge first step for us, and it's one that we need to continue to have. When you go back to work, or you go to PTA meetings, or anywhere you go, you all need to continue that dialogue and keep pushing it out there. And before your children go anywhere to someone's home, you know how parents often call and say, hey, do you have a loaded gun? Do you have guns in your home? My kid's not coming over unless I know your guns are secure. Who would ever call and say, hey, where's your pain medication? You don't have to say, what do you take? You just need to say, if you have prescription pain medication, is it locked up? I've got parents who do that for alcohol. I've got parents who do that for weapons, but they never do it for pain medication. Why not? Because I have talked to the kids who started, again, 12 and 14. Perfect example. Young girl, 14, with her friend. It was a Saturday. They, wanted to hang out together, do their thing. The mom was so happy, and she remembers this so clearly, because instead of them going to do all the other things and going to the mall and hanging out and all that, they went to the friend's grandmother's home. So the mom is thinking, this is great. I know the family, I know the grandmother, these kids are safe. This is great. As a parent, it doesn't get any better, right? They're good for the day. They're at grandma's house. The 2 girls got into grandma's pain medication. The friend never got addicted. Her daughter said from that first pill, it had her. And that's the thing that these young addicts tell me. That it's the first pill for so many of them. They knew they were different. They knew they wanted it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd taken one Percocet when I broke my foot. I hated that. I thought that was the worst feeling. I mean, I could barely make it from the bathroom to the bed. The room was flying. I'm nauseous. I mean, I just thought, this is the worst thing ever. I would never want to do that again. So I've never taken a Percocet or anything that strong ever since then. I can't imagine, again, being wired to enjoy that feeling and to think, wow, that was great. But that's the difference with us, with each of us. So you don't know how you're going to react, but you certainly don't know how your teenager is going to react. So best to lock it up, best not to give it to them unless they need it. So same thing. I didn't need that. The doctor at the emergency room told me, you have to take it when you get home. You got to get ahead of the pain. I don't think I had no pain. So I really struggled with, well, was he right or not? I wasn't doing this job then. I took it. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think I ever needed it. Because I didn't take anything else. I never took anything else. You know, it was a clean break. I just had to wear the boot and do all that. So I don't think I ever needed that. And again, in this job, now I would go home and I'd be like, I'm not going to do it until I at least start to feel the pain. And even then, I'm going to have the discussion with him. Okay, can I take 2 Advil if I start to feel something? And then if it gets worse, with the 2 Advil in me, can I take the, you know, it's like, what's my compromise here?
So it's education for the children, basically, at home. But again, with the epidemic that's going around, which is heroin, basically around the country, I mean, heroin was the first last state, heroin, and a huge epidemic just lately. And how are you going to keep those away from friends who, hey, want to try this? Or, I mean, you know, we can do so much at home.
You can do so much at home, but don't underestimate that. Because the kids, yes, kids can get anything at school, and they can try it at school, and they can try it with their friends. But many of these kids, and the ones I'm talking to, they started at home. They wouldn't have had the desire or the ability or the guts, you know, to go and say to somebody else, I want to try your pills. They tried at home. And the longer you can delay this, the better. And so, you know, when your kids are struggling with issues as preteens and teens, chances are they're going to be home. So if you've got your stuff locked up and you've talked to the best friend's parents and they've got their stuff locked up, you've already eliminated a lot of where this kid's going to go. But don't ever underestimate that. And don't ever underestimate, you know, if you see something going on with your child, to step in. Because I know we were talking earlier that just because something happens and something's off with your preteen or your teen or even older, or even your spouse, you know, you've been married to somebody for 20 years, they had an accident, whatever, they start on pain medication. So there's a difference there. Well, you don't know if it is the drug, if it's something else, and especially with young people, it could be bullying, it could be a sexual assault, it could be a whole lot of other stuff. Bipolar that you might not have realized until they're preteen and teen. Figure it out, intervene. Don't step back and say, oh, it's just hormones, oh, they're just preteens and teens. You know that kid. Something's off. Deal with it. Because if they're not medicating, chances are, if you don't get them the help that they need, they will self-medicate. And the kids will tell you that across the board. The kids want to feel numb. Numb is their word. And the other thing I want to say before we end, when we did these focus groups across the county, good kids, okay, not necessarily anyone in treatment, didn't know if anyone was or not, but good kids, Howard County kids, articulate, sitting there, talking one-on-one with them, talking with them as a group, and they came back and every group used the word consequences. We never once used the word consequences. And these kids said, parents and adults need to hold them to consequences. And I said, wait a minute, you know, like what teenager tells you that? And I said, do you say this to your parents? Absolutely not. It is their job to beat you down. It is their job to tell you you don't know anything. It is their job to try and win, to pull something over on you. Okay? And they're very honest about it. They're sitting there laughing like, no, I'll tell you this, but I won't tell my parents. And they said, you know, when you as adults say to them, if you're going out on Friday night and you come home and I smell alcohol in your breath, or you're 10 minutes late, or whatever that or is, and you don't hold them to those consequences, every teenager said it means that you as an adult lie, their word. You lie to them. You are not their safe place, and they cannot trust you. And again, teen brain, not adult brain, teen brain. So when they're in trouble, they can't really turn to you. So even though you're there, even though you're providing, even though you're doing everything you can to keep this kid safe and give them everything in the world, in their brain, I can't trust you. You don't want that. You want to be the one that when something happens that they turn to you, not somebody else. You don't want them going to that, you know, the friend's parent because the friend's parent holds everybody to consequences and makes it clear. You want to be the parent that gives them an out, that says, I can't drink because my mom's going to be up at midnight when I walk in the door and she's going to smell my breath. She's going to hug me because she wants to know what I'm doing. She wants to smell. You know, she wants to see. She's going to look me in the eyes. Give them that out. You be the bad guy. There isn't an adult in here that can't handle being the bad guy. What do you care? By the time they're in their 20s or they have kids, they're going to come back and say, I'm going to do the same thing. You know, you saved me from trouble. You saved me from things that my friends did. But just think about that. The next time you say to your kids, well, if you do that, then don't make those consequences so high that you can't live with them. And no matter what, you enforce them and you live with them. Okay?
Hey, Joan, thank you very much. This is great regarding prevention, but can you touch a little bit on a couple of things? One, on red flags, what parents should look for, or things that will come to the, you know, a red flag that there is something I need to check on here with my kids. That's one. Two, not everybody is familiar with self-medicating. Mm-hmm. So if you can just talk a little bit about, you know, what will cause kids, teens, or whatever to self-medicate, and what does that look like?
Okay, self-medicating. We'll start with that. So self-medicating means that if I have a bad day in school and I don't have the coping skills or I just can't take it anymore, I'm going to come home and I'm going to either turn to, or go out with my friends and turn to alcohol, other drugs, marijuana, something. And again, whatever it is that allows me, especially a young person, to feel numb. So I've talked with really bright kids who are going to the best colleges, and even they say to me, it's just too much, and at some point, I need to feel numb. You know, we as adults, maybe we numb a little bit, you know, whether, again, is that alcohol, is that food, is it chocolate, you know, what is it that we feel a little numb with? But to kids, I mean, it really means numb, like numb, done, it's shut out, I can just relax. And it's not necessarily even that the parents are putting the pressure on them. These kids are putting pressure on themselves. So their pressure to succeed, their pressure to know what they're doing with their lives by the time they're 14 is huge. So you talk about red flags. Every kid is different. I can't tell you the red flags for your child, but trust your gut. You know when something's off. You don't, and again, it may not be a drug issue, but it may become a drug or alcohol issue. So if their behavior is, if they liked school and they suddenly don't like school, if they've changed friends, if their behavior at home is just different, if their attitude is different, and I know that's a struggle because preteens and teens, and we want to chalk everything up to hormones, right? But you can't do that. And when in doubt, you go talk to someone. I get the calls from parents who want to change that child. They'll do anything. Where can I send my child? I want to send my child and get them fixed. And the moment I say, especially to a mom whose son is 17 and 6 feet tall and not going to go with her. Well, you go. You go talk to someone. You go figure out how to set the boundaries, how to get the help. You know, what is it that you need? And even before you take your child there. And in almost, well, I think every case, the parent has not gone because the parent thinks it's not their problem, it's the kids. And I'm here to say to you, all of this is a family problem. So we need to stop feeling shame if there's a problem in our families. We need to stop hiding it. We need to come out and put it out there. And even we as a church community, we need to get real. We need to say these things are happening, and they're happening in the best of homes in this county. You know, there are a lot of kids out there. I haven't heard about this in the last 2 years, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening because I suspect that it still is. But a couple of years ago, we had a pretty big problem. Kids would take whatever medication they could get. Okay, now think about that. Whatever they could get their hands on in your home and take it to a party. Put a big bowl out, everybody dump their meds in. You don't know if you just got birth control pills, blood pressure medication, nitroglycerin. You have no idea what you just got. Teenage parties, washing it down with alcohol on top of that. Everybody reaches in and takes something. Is it going to speed you up, drop you down? You're going to have a reaction? This was going on here in our county. And like I said, I'm rather confident it still is. And along with that is the kids are having group sex. Okay? And again, so when you talk about red flags, is the flag that they're doing things that they're not equipped to do, so they're turning to self-medicate, or are they self-medicating and then doing some of these things? So it's hard with young people to figure out which comes first. And maybe it's not even important as to which is first, but you as parents know if somebody walks in and something's off, just get to the bottom of it. Because you don't want somebody sexually assaulting your child and not dealing with that for years. You know, you don't want kids bullying your child and you not knowing that for years. You don't want that permanent damage out there. Okay?
Thank you, Joan. This is very good, actually. Thank you for doing this. I just have a few comments. Typically, I'm a pain specialist, so I deal with this. And 9 out of 10 teenager or young adult, when they have history of dependency, usually, I would say 9 out of 10, they get it from home. And these are facts. We cannot deny this. I know everybody is surprised, but what happened in reality, they are at school and their peers telling them, yeah, it's stressful, any kind of stress. They're not accepted, they're not loved, breaking up with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, any kind of stress in their mind. Try this and you will feel better. And once they try this and they feel better, they think any pill that they can reach at home will make them feel better. So we cannot deny the fact that they get these things from home. And they use these things at home. So they use these pills or these drugs, or whatever, heroin, whatever, it's at school, everywhere at school. They don't have to even go buy it. Their peers will give them as a gift. Tell them, this is my gift to you, and it's very cheap. I know drug dealers, and I know how they really make these things very cheap for the kids to buy it. So these things, they use it at your house, and they use it from your home, from your kitchen cabinet or whatever, and this is very common statistics, we all know this. For the behavioral part, you're absolutely right. When you see your child is acting different, either too much isolated or too much hyper or too much loving or too much hating or too much of anything different, this is a time you have to really act. You have to act. We cannot, it's going to happen in our houses and we cannot deny it. Right. The other thing I want to comment on, when a child takes the Percocet that make you drowsy, for a teenager, their metabolism is very fast, they feel good. You feel drowsy, they feel very good. And then the next time they will say, this drug make mommy or grandma drowsy, but for me, it works fine for me. So again, this is something that it's really in every house, and we are not protected. And I don't want to say this for the teenager, it's for the adults too.
Right.
We are all prone for this. This is something that we see physicians addicted, and this is something that training programs, we teach doctors in training programs. You're going to be handling drugs, and you're going to be addicted one day. Once you're stressed, make sure that you don't reach out this things. So
Right.
this is things is happening.
Right, thank you, thank you. But that is the point, because is this your mother? Is this your father? Again, they've never used drugs, maybe they've never even had alcohol. They certainly don't have any addiction problems. But this could easily be every single person in your family. The more we turn to wanting to feel numb, access to prescriptions and medications. Yeah, these are us.
So I understand you're saying that we all focus on heroin and so if we maybe get steps, we want that steps. What are the chances one for getting heroin? And how do we mitigate that?
I think our chances are great because every person, right, but every person that I have talked to in Howard County who is using heroin, and I know this isn't true across the board to everybody, everywhere. Yes, you'll find some people who started with heroin. I have yet in 6 years to meet anyone. They all started with legal prescription pain medication. So if they don't have access to it, that is going to have a huge impact on the heroin issue here in this county. Because if you can delay that, again, your 14-year-old is not going to go out and buy heroin. They're only going to do that if they've already tried it with the pills. Well, I shouldn't say not at all. They could. But that's not what I'm seeing. That's not the trend. The trend is they're starting at home on their own medication for good reasons, or within their homes, grandma's home, all of that. So again, if they don't have that when they need to feel numb, so if they don't have access to that this Friday night or next Saturday afternoon when they're feeling like, you know, everybody hates me, I just broke up with somebody, whatever it is that's going on, if they don't have access to that in your home, then that buys you another day, another week, another whatever.
Heroin from some dealer from Baltimore, wherever? You don't see that?
I don't see that. I'm not hearing that, and I've even talked to people in the detention center. They turn to the heroin after the pills. So if they didn't start those pills, our thought, our hope, our belief, and the research shows us that we can prolong that. So even if they're an addictive personality, every year we buy your kid is another year that maybe they won't, maybe things will turn around. Maybe they'll get the help they need. Like whatever it is that is causing them to want to experiment or to want to feel numb, maybe that won't be there a week later. Because, you know, for us, you know, what makes you absolutely fall apart today, cry, think that you can't get through it, by next week or 2 weeks from now, you're kind of laughing like, okay, yeah, whatever. You know, you've moved on. You have the coping skills, you move on. If that day, if somebody can hand you something to feel numb, even us, you know, hey, we might be tempted to take it. No, we don't, because we know things are going to get better. We know we've been through other things, and, you know, this too shall pass. And we turn to our faith. We turn to other things. But if you're 12 or 14 and your boyfriend breaks up with you or your girlfriend breaks up with you or the kids are picking on you or who knows what, you don't know it's going to get better. You know, your world has just ended. So if you can feel numb that day, you're going to take it. Mm-hmm.
So if you feel your child is, let's say, up to 18, that you can basically force them, or at least as a legal guardian. If the child is above 18, do you just talk to the doctor, or is it the county that they can
Nobody
that?
can, I mean,
Or
unless
you
they're,
just, and is there a mental, like psychologist they talk to? And is there a waiting list, or just rehab that they basically, you have to convince that young adult to go for treatment?
it totally depends on the situation. So she's asking about forcing someone into treatment. So if they're over 18, I mean, unless a doctor or somebody steps in to say that they are in danger, and, you know, I mean, it takes a lot of steps to get somebody into, to force them into treatment after 18. That's a long process. Under 18, you as a parent can force them into treatment. Now, what does that mean, and will your insurance pay for it? You can get them into something, and you can, but again, you might have that 3-month wait, or, you know, maybe it's not the care that you want them to have, that your insurance will cover. Every case is different, but which is why you need to start exploring that younger and have more time. Don't wait until you're in crisis, because again, to get them in somewhere, you are going to pay, and it is expensive. That to be a danger. Mm-hmm. Okay. And where are you sending them, though? Oh, so you, but you have a relationship. Right. Okay. 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 And I know of others that it absolutely is the money, the insurance, you know, finding the provider who will take insurance, because they're not paid as, they're not reimbursed as well. Because if, you know, you're not reimbursed as the same if you're a provider for like a mental health issue versus substance abuse. You're reimbursed less. So it's an issue to providers. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
John, thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I don't know about you, but it was very informative. Please feel free to come up front and talk with John about any questions that you might have. Few points to summarize. The first point that I learned today was to have a code. Have that code. This is very interesting, but it's apparently simple and effective tool. لما يبقى عندك كلمة سر تقول لهم يقول لك أنا كذا أو أنا بأكل الكلب أو أنا نسيت أكل الكلب أو حاجة زي كده هو. That's a might come very handy later in the future. ده أول حاجة. تاني حاجة إنك دايما بتبص على تغيير. You are always looking for a change. Those are the warning signs, red flags, right? You know your kids, and I know إن هي دي فترة بيتغيروا فيها. بس أنت بتبص على تغيير من العادي بتاعهم. يعني مثلا تلاقي إن هو اتغير في النوم، في الbehavior، في الaggressiveness. Things are not going well. Weight gain, weight loss, grooming. تغيير في الشكل، تغيير في طريقة اللبس، تغيير في أي حاجة. Those are red flags. حتى لو تبص في العينين برضو are red flags for you. دي حاجات تبص في العين تلاقي pupils are wider. Those are red flags for you, and there is something. Tremors, having tremors in the hand. رعشة في الإيدين. Lack of coordinations, slurred speech. كل الحاجات ديت حاجات تخلي بالك. Right. Right. Absolutely. Right. Correct. Right. Right. So changes in general are things to look for.